Or if you just don't have access, like North Korea, they just have no fucking clue what's going on.
Did you see what they were making them do for North Korea? What Kim Jong-un was making them do on Christmas?
No.
He makes people worship the mother of the revolution, his grandmother, who was the wife of the first dictator of North Korea, she died of mysterious causes in like 1949, and so like he is so anti-Christmas. This guy, he literally is like, he's like a character in a Dr. Seuss movie. Like he's so anti-Christmas. He's like the Grinch.
So they have to celebrate his dead.
They have to celebrate his grandmother, like the mother of the revolution.
You know the
fool's crazy.
The U.S. made 18 Korean cities disappear during that war.
Look at that.
And that's why 18 cities disappeared.
What do you mean?
In the Korean War.
We
firebombed 18 cities.
In the North Korea?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's when the regime started.
Well, the Korean War, when did that end?
50s? Sometime in the 50s.
Does Kim Jong-un...
It was a weird war, right? Like, people don't really talk about that one too much.
Yeah, they don't talk about it, but they did. I was watching a documentary about how doctors, they're allowed to go into North Korea and fix people's eyes. They give them like a month, and these doctors from China, they come in and they do the cataract surgery. And his assistant snuck in. She was a journalist. She posed as an assistant just to get in, just to get some footage of on the inside. So it was about, it is fucking weird in North Korea. It's weird as fuck. And that guy is crazy as fuck. But at the top of that documentary, that was not pro North Korea. It was anti-North Korea. But at the very top of it, when she's breaking down what the documentary is about, she mentioned how 18 cities evaporated in the war.
That's war, son.
Like, wait, exactly. No wonder there's so much hate for the fucking the U.S.
But
that's not what their issue is. Their issue is their dictator is ruthless and is dominating them with fear.
But he bases it on that.
But that doesn't make any sense. He's doing it against his own people. What he's doing is imprisoning his entire country.
He's crazy.
Which is,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Firebombing 18 cities is fucking disgusting. But
think about that.
This is almost just as bad.
He does have, like, it's almost like you could understand. He was an abused child. You know what I mean? 18 cities. Can you imagine if there was a country out there? If there was a country out there that firebombed 18 of our major cities, how would we feel about that country?
Oh, yeah.
You'd be fucking lynched if you said anything pro that country. It would be that kind of country.
You
would fucking be dead. You better. That's like Holocaust type shit. You bring up that shit, you'd be fucking dead. You keep that shit to yourself.
Well, that's what you ever talk to someone who's Armenian, who's spoken to an Armenian genocide denier. There's a lot of, like, that Armenian genocide is a very rarely discussed Holocaust. I mean, not the Holocaust, but like, in terms of the word to describe an atrocity. It was a terrible thing, and there's deniers of that. And when you find an Armenian and you talk to him about people that deny the Armenian genocide, like, remember Manny Gamburian? He won a fight, and I was interviewing him after the fight, and he was dedicating the fight to the Armenian genocide, to the victims of the Armenian genocide.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, wow, like, when was the last time you even heard about that? Nobody ever talks about that. Never. It never gets discussed. And I think over 1 million people died.
And I'm pretty sure L.A. has the biggest
Armenian population,
right? Pretty sure.
Hell yeah. You go to Glendale? Fuck yeah.
Wow. Okay, the United States dropped 635 tons of bombs in Korea, not counting 32,557 tons of napalm, compared to 503 tons in the entire Pacific theater in World War II. At least 50% of 18 out of the North's 22 major cities were obliterated. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Right? Was I right?
Yeah, you're 100% right.
I mean, this is the internet. Are we in the library? Did you get that from library.com?
Listen, that is terrifying. Look at the images up there. Napalm bombs.
So you kind of...
Look at that, Eddie.
Kim Jong-will, or whatever the fuck his name is crazy as fuck, for sure. But you kind of understand when someone's really crazy and they've been abused and tortured as a child, you kind of, like, you have empathy for them.
I understand what you're saying. But... I guess the argument would be that if they didn't do it, like, what was the war over? The war was over communism, right? So what happened at the end of the war was that the two different countries They became North and South Korea?
I don't know the details of...
When was...
I know it's probably fucked up, the
find
reason
out
they were fighting.
when North Korea was founded. Because this is like the takeover. 18 different cities destroyed out of... How many did they say? 22? 22? When was South Korea and when was North Korea formed? And when did it become like North and South Korea?
50s.
Do you know?
In the 50s sometime.
So before that, it was just all Korea?
I'm not sure. I don't know that much about
Why do
the
I
history.
not know this?
All I know is we firebombed 18 of their cities, man. That's some devastating shit.
Yeah,
and we talk about all these different...
yeah, well, I think, again, back then, man, you never... Okay, North Korea's history. 1945. The partition of Korea at the end of World War II. Interesting. The creation of the communist-aligned Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Okay. Kim Il-sung, in 1950, the Korean War broke out. So they broke off in 1945 and wanted to be communist. 5 years later, we were going to war with them. Man, I don't know the history of it. I'd be talking shit if I said I had an opinion on it. But it sounds
I'm pretty
awful.
sure. I'm guessing that we shouldn't have been up in their fucking mess. That's what I'm guessing.
Unless we were worried that he was going to become another Hitler, and that it was going to become just a further extension of World War II.
Again,
it was going to move on to
that,
Korea.
The history of World War II. That is like we don't really know the history of World War II. There's a mainstream history, and then there's the real shit.
You know, World War I too. Both of them are just like World War I is very bizarre, man. When you go back and listen to Dan Carlin talk about World War I, and you realize how recent that was, where most of these guys were walking everywhere with guns. You're like, what? Yeah. Like, yeah, that's what they did. They walked. They walked with guns. They walked across countries.
Like Braveheart with guns.
It is ridiculous when you realize like that was 100 years ago. You go, holy shit! Like, what has happened? And now instead of we're just 50 years after that, less than 50 years after that, they're napalming entire cities, wiping out whole cities. Like the ability that where it used to be, you had like cannons and shit that you had to move and push them closer and closer to people. The difference between that and being able to drop shit out of planes on people's heads.
Drones now.
Yeah,
now,
even crazier.
like ISIS, they get out of a car and just
intercontinental ballistic missiles that are pointed at Russia, and Russia's got them pointed at us. And we just go, yeah. It's where like the fucking Hatfields and the McCoys just staring at the barrel. Morning, Sam. Morning, Ralph.
Morning, Ralph.